Why, hello there, friends. It's Emma here, the bookish princess. Here's my brother, Athos.
Hello.
He's welcomed us to his chateau. You guys have seen the books at my house, but Athos also, as you can see, has a very impressive selection of books. And today we are going to show you his rare bookshelf, which I think is even more impressive than my books because you have old books.
The old books. Gotta collect them. They have a certain ambiance to them, you know? They bring something to the table.
They're so beautiful, and they're from centuries past. 10 out of 10 on the old books. And then we're going to do a quick little highlights of the other bookshelves. Let's do it. So, is there any sort of introduction to your collection or like any overall?
So, previously I had it, I need to rearrange, but previously it was vaguely organized by subject. I kind of have, I've got Catholicism books along with various other religions then come in, world religions. I've got a few, I've got the Quran, of course, the Upanishads is a...
The Upanishads?
Yes, Upanishads.
I see Thomas Aquinas right there.
Yeah, so I've got all of those.
Dante, Divine Comedy.
Dante, of course. Then I've got sort of the literary corner that comes up next. So I've been trying to collect a nice sampling of pretty much everybody's biggest hits. I'm sure I've talked about the Poetic Edda before. I've got that here. That's in the mythology section along with, Epic of Gilgamesh is down there. I've got this interesting one I've been meaning to read recently of the literature of ancient Egypt. There you go, recent acquisition.
I love it.
Need to go through that one.
I see Description de l'Égypte.
Yes, that was, so the Description de l'Égypte was during Napoleon's campaign to Egypt. He brought a giant team of scientists, and they all worked together to write this enormous tome, Description of Egypt.
That book was commissioned by Napoleon.
Yes, commissioned by Napoleon. It might even say that right at the front. Oh, there you go. Publié par les ordres de Napoléon Bonaparte. So published on the orders of Napoleon. And his scientists were he had architects, he had naturalists, so they did all the animal life of Egypt. It's mostly pictorial, honestly, and it's lavishly illustrated.
Wow, this is so
all
cool.
Number of, look at these plans of temples, like very, very thorough. They copied all these hieroglyphics, and they wrote about the culture of leeches, you name it. They covered the whole thing. They did the rocks, the plants.
Any stone unturned.
Exactly.
Literally.
So this was Napoleon's team.
What else? What are some other quick highlights from the shelves?
Quick highlights
at Athos
in here.
Oh, of course, we have to mention our Haunted Mansion friends.
The Haunted Mansion busts helping us all out.
So great.
Holding the stuff up.
I like Luke right there.
Yeah, he's
hanging out.
Land speeder. This one is kind of interesting. So Carl Linnaeus is he's the guy who essentially came up with species nomenclature and taxonomy, and he the whole concept of a genus and species he came up with, and he classified pretty much all the animals. There he is, exactly. So this is apparently he's from I think Denmark, if I remember correctly. And in Denmark, most of his writing is still in Dutch. In fact, someone described him as, if a poet became a biologist, it would be Carl Linnaeus.
Oh, that's awesome.
One of his few works that has been translated into English is his work on just his travel diary, essentially. He goes over the biology of different animals and plants he sees. So
that's beautiful.
That's what this is. So pretty cool. And the translation was done, I think it might have been by the scientific journal Nature or something. It was put together by some, essentially they commissioned it. So so pretty cool, one of his only English works. We got that. Let's see, what's an interesting, that's the science wing of the
bookshelf.
Of the bookshelf, exactly. We have the biography wing. We have
Napoleon.
Napoleon,
nice.
Ataturk of Turkey, the Medici family. there's a few other Napoleon books scattered
Oh,
about
this
as
looked
well.
really neat. I saw it earlier. Honey
This
and
one?
Salt.
Yeah, Bernard of
Clairvaux.
Clairvaux,
That
big
looks
name of
really
the Second
cool.
Crusade. Want to see what he has to say?
This is cool. Story of the Irish Race. Seamus McManus. Oh, C.S. Lewis. Can't go wrong with these guys. Beowulf. Oh, there's this Poetic Edda. Where's that from again? What did you? What?
So that is the Norse mythology, essentially.
Oh, Norse
and,
mythology.
Henry James and his friends were all big fans of it.
Oh,
So.
very nice. Gerard's Herbal. What's this? This looks.
Yes, it's an old book on essentially plants, writing up all sorts of different. It's pretty cool.
awesome.
Yeah, they explain potential uses, just generally the life of all these various plants.
Monster Hunt.
Gotta have my next to the
Cryptozoology.
you gotta have the cryptid books right next
Love
to the
it.
biological books.
Oh, did Mom give you this? Did you read this? Mating season.
I started on it, but I haven't continued very much. I've read a few other of his, always fun reads, all of them.
So Athos uses Pokemon cards as bookmarks, which
It's true.
is a great idea.
I mark my quotations I want to note in with those as well.
Pretty fantastic.
A brachiosaur, of course.
Brachiosaur.
Exactly.
And a cow vertebrae, is that right?
Yeah, and a cow vertebrae.
And a mandolin.
And a mandolin.
So-
All your major food groups. So tapestries, simply a nice review of the art of tapestry. Got lots of nice plates, talks about tapestry, the history of it.
I found a tapestry here of Chambord, which is in Impression France, because apparently the king had 12 tapestries made of his 12 favorite palaces. The king liked the series of 12 tapestries so much that he had multiples of them made. And they also made a tapestry of the tapestry factory with all the master tapestry makers.
Tapestries upon tapestries.
Exactly.
upon
They tapestryized themselves.
Edgar Allan Poe, not necessarily a rare
Here,
book.
why don't you pull each
All the
one out
works.
so we can see the color?
Yeah, so
Oh, it's got a little
exactly,
shape.
very nice one. It's got all of his writings and poems, so pretty thick. And next to it, I have Robert Dunn English's Select Poems, who was Edgar Allan Poe's sworn rival in life. Very nice.
Oh,
First
that's
edition
beautiful.
one,
Look
very
at the
pretty.
red. I like that.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
has it got, we always like to see the
check the inscription.
Newark, New Jersey, 1954.
So there you go. The Edgar Allan Poe one has an inscription too.
Ooh.
Let's see.
We should start inscribing our books, so that way when someone finds them in, well, that was like
No
20
readers,
years ago,
so-
but
Sorry, Jacob, I don't know how many you sold it, so I don't know how well that went, but hopefully it worked out great for you. Heads and Faces, one of my set of physiognomy and sort of phrenological works here. So you look at how the shapes of the head relate to various personalities. Wonderful stuff,
is
you know?
fascinating.
Maybe there's something to it, maybe there's not. Who's to say? So when it's restricted to the skull, that's referred to as phrenology, but when you look at sort of the soul, sort of whole form of the body, it's called physiognomy.
Or the outside is just very interesting.
So this is Essays on Physiognomy. It's kind of the fundamental work on physiognomy. Wherever I don't know where the title page is, but there it is, Essays on Physiognomy.
So fantastic.
So this one has some plates in it too.
Oh,
That's a
there he
nice
is.
one. There's got some
at
skulls there.
skulls.
More skulls.
Nice.
Wonderful stuff. Yeah, and then my favorite part is where he draws in, if you look like a lion, maybe your personality is
Oh
like
my
a lion. So he has several heads of various animals describing the personalities of the animals. So that's wonderful. The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam.
I got that
Great
one
Arabic work. It's true. Still need to get through it. We're running
it's
about.
really quick. It's
It looks like it
beautiful.
would be a fast read. Need to read that one. Burton's Anatomy of Melancholy. It's sort of an encyclopedia, just kind of covering.
Nature of Devils. Oh, what's
Oh yeah,
this?
literally, you name it. Everything's in it.
It's a little.
Somebody who had a
From,
newspaper cutter.
Wow, that's fascinating.
So wait, what year? Well, let's see.
Yeah,
Uncle Reuben, Bill Sulzer, Congressman from New York. When was Bill Sulzer? Somebody Google it.
Tell us.
And then we have a date here on
Google.
this newspaper cutting. He talks about pretty much everything that just kind of crosses his mind. So it's a very interesting book.
And where'd you
And
hear about this?
this one I heard about in a Robert Louis Stevenson book, where one of the protagonists, who was the Prince of Bohemia, he invited a ne'er-do-well. He was always seeking adventure. Invited a ne'er-do-well to talk to him, and noticed afterwards the guy had stolen one of his copies of Burton's, and he was dismayed because no gentleman's apartment is complete without a set of Burton's Anatomy. So that's that one. This is a copy of Euclid's Geometry
Wow, look at-
in French.
Oh my god.
So Also, another book I read suggested that the best way to learn a language was to translate Euclid's geometry, which I've never read in English, so I don't know how helpful that actually will be to me. But at some point...
Did Robert Louis Stevenson also suggest...
I think this might have also been a suggestion from Robert Louis Stevenson, or it might have been someone else.
Did he suggest
but this is a really old one.
specifically?
This is 1700s. Yes, Euclid specifically.
Oh, that's
This is a very...
awesome.
I think this might be the oldest book in the
The
collection
oldest book
here.
on the shelf.
So here we have Edgar's Crusaders, a fun little
That also,
history of the Crusades.
Any
Selection
OG
from
Bookish
Emma.
Kingdom will remember when I showed this a couple of
Picking
years ago.
this
And
one
I was
out.
like, I bought this right.
Pretty cool. Fits very nicely in here. I have a couple books. I should put them together. On Whist, card game I'm a fan of. It was very, very popular in the late 1800s. Tons of different
Beautiful
writings
covers.
on Whist and the best strategies for it. Foster and Cavendish were two of the biggest names. I'm missing somebody whose name starts with W. I can't remember what it is. But that's the last of the big names of Whist strategy. Exactly. So that's there. I'm a big fan of Robert W. Chambers, who is a...
just admiring these covers. How cool.
like sort of mysterious, weird, almost horror, more like creepy fiction kind of
What's he
writer.
best known for, would you say?
Well, probably that's what he's best known for. But after writing that, he sold out and became a romance writer, and he just wrote tons of romances.
Wow.
And this one is kind of interesting because the protagonist is a zoologist for the American Museum of Natural History.
Wow.
And he's sent out to collect cryptids, like, Bigfoot and other mysterious animals. But this one was written at sort of his transition from that type of literature, the weird type of literature, to traditional romance. So it has a very heavy romantic element in each one as well. So it's interesting because you can kind of see his evolution. This one is more of the traditional, weirder one. I actually haven't read this one yet. His most famous one is The King in Yellow. The first
Yes,
editions
that
of that
was-
are very expensive.
That was the name or the title I was thinking of.
Yeah, exactly. So that one is his most typical work. This one is my first edition of Robert Louis Stevenson's The Dynamiter. This is the sequel to the one I was just talking about. And it once again features the Prince of Bohemia.
Love it.
So
We love to
good
see it.
stuff. A series of short
Does that have-
stories. Now, if you watch auctions on eBay for long enough, you can get steals because nobody else thinks to look up The Dynamiter. And so the
eBay.
one option that appears after months of there being nothing, you can be the one bidder. So that's really the way to do it. We talked about our
Our
Whist
Whist
manuals here. Shakespeare, all of his major
I
plays
like
here.
it.
So
Oxford.
pretty stacked in. I got this one
wow,
in
yeah.
Utah, so in a used bookstore. So that's fun.
Used to belong to Christine.
Christine Walton, yeah. So good for her.
That could be the subject for a book. It would be like a bookish person would go and try to track down all the people who used to own their books.
And be like, hey,
Wouldn't that be
what'd you
okay?
think of it? Why'd you sell the book?
Learn the story behind it.
Exactly. Here we have a copy of the writings of Bret Harte, who was a sort of an adventure novelist. He wrote about kind of American frontiersmen during the Gold Rush and their adventures. And specifically, I got this one for a set of short stories he did called The Bohemian Papers, about sort of the cultural bohemian types, who I find very interesting. And, yeah, so, let's see, yeah, they start on page 187.
Venerable imposter. That's how I want to
A
read
boy's
that.
dog. Yeah, so that's why I picked this one up. Apparently he helped develop that
Oh,
literary movement. So,
the rare bookshelf.
that's the Rare Bookshelf.
We love it.
Ooh. There you go. Dust free.
Well, thank you so much, Athos, for your tour of your wonderful bookshelves.
Of
Post in the
course.
comments. Let us know your favorite book that you saw today. I want to borrow a whole bunch of these from you
So much to
because
read.
they're pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I
you
love
know.
the variety.
Always something to read.
Always something to read. If you are interested in checking out more of my bookish vlogs and my bookshelf tour, if you haven't seen it yet, I will link it up above. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe. We'll talk to you again soon. Until then, have a bookish day.